All right, so today let's talk about something I think we've all probably worried about at some point: hair loss. We're going to go deep on red light therapy today, and whether or not it can actually help with, you know, thinning patches or a receding hairline. The source material for this deep dive is an article called "Red Light Therapy for Hair Loss: A Science-Backed Solution." It's written by Dan Blackburn over at redlighttherapy.rehab, and it was published earlier this year on February 28th. So before we get into the details, Mrs. Yo, can you give us kind of a plain English explanation of what red light therapy even is?
Absolutely. Red light therapy, sometimes called low-level laser therapy or
Yeah.
photobiomodulation, uses
Okay.
specific wavelengths of red and near-infrared light. And the idea is that these wavelengths can stimulate activity at the cellular level. It's considered non-invasive
Yeah.
and generally safe,
Hmm.
which is a big plus compared to some of the other
Yeah.
hair loss treatments out there. And there are even at-home devices that are FDA cleared, so it's something you can potentially try without having to go to a clinic or anything.
Okay, so it's not like lasers shooting out of your head or something. That's good to know. But I gotta ask, how does light actually make hair grow? Like, what's the mechanism there?
Right. It does sound a little bit like science fiction, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's actually a pretty fascinating biological process at play. Essentially, red light therapy works by targeting those hair follicles directly. One way it does this is by increasing something called ATP production.
Okay. Now, I vaguely remember ATP from high school biology. Can you remind me what that is and how it's relevant to hair?
Sure. ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, is like the energy currency of our cells. It fuels all sorts of cellular processes, including hair growth. And red light therapy has been shown to boost ATP production in those hair follicles, giving them the energy they need to, keep growing.
Yeah.
But it's not just about energy. Red light therapy also increases blood flow to the scalp, which means more oxygen and nutrients are reaching the follicles, creating a healthier environment. And here's where it gets really interesting. It can even combat inflammation. Chronic inflammation is a big culprit in many types of hair loss, including androgenetic alopecia, which is just a fancy way of saying male or female pattern baldness. By reducing inflammation, red light therapy can help those hair follicles survive and thrive.
So it's like a multi-pronged approach to hair health then.
Exactly. It's addressing several key factors that contribute to hair loss, and it can even extend the anagen phase, which is the active growth phase of the hair cycle. So your hair is spending more time growing and less time shedding.
All of that sounds very promising. But what about the evidence? Are there actual studies that back up these claims?
Yes, there are. The article mentions 4 studies that caught my eye.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me about the most compelling one.
Well, one that really stood out was a 2014 randomized double-blind study. It's considered the gold standard for research, so the findings carry a lot of weight. They found that participants using a 655 nanometer red light laser cap saw a 39% increase in hair density over 16 weeks.
Wow, 39% increase. That's not insignificant. What about the other studies? Did they have similar findings?
Yeah, the other studies generally corroborated those results. A 2017 meta-analysis confirmed significant increases in both hair count and thickness in people with androgenetic alopecia. What's interesting is that these results were seen in both men and women, and then in 2019, a study even compared red light therapy head-to-head with finasteride and minoxidil, which are 2 common medications for hair loss.
Okay, and how did it stack up against those? Those are pretty heavy hitters in the hair loss world.
That's what surprised me. The study found that red light therapy was equally effective as both medications, but without the potential side effects that sometimes come with them.
That's definitely a significant finding. So we're not just talking about theoretical benefits here. There's actual scientific evidence that this stuff works.
Exactly. And to top it off, a 2020 review confirmed that red light therapy devices consistently improve hair density and overall scalp health, especially for those with genetic hair loss.
Okay, I'm officially intrigued. But now I need to know the practical stuff. How do you actually use red light therapy? What kind of devices are out there?
Well, there are a few different options.
Okay, great. Let's talk about that in part 2 of this episode.
Welcome back.
All right, so before the break, we were about to get into the practical side of red light therapy.
Yeah.
What are my options when it comes to devices?
Well, first things first, always make sure you're choosing an FDA-cleared device. That means it's been tested for safety and effectiveness. Beyond that, there are a few main types you'll come across.
Okay, lay 'em on me.
Laser caps are pretty popular. They fit snugly on your head and have panels of lasers that target the scalp.
So it's like wearing a futuristic helmet that's secretly making your hair grow? That's kind of awesome.
Exactly. And then you have LED helmets. Those use light-emitting diodes instead of lasers. They often cover a larger area of the scalp and tend to be a bit more affordable than the laser caps.
So options for every budget, that's good to know. Are there any other types?
Yeah, you can also find handheld laser combs. Those are more targeted, so they're good if you're just dealing with hair loss in specific areas.
Okay, so lots of choices.
Yeah.
Any advice on how to choose the right one?
Aside from making sure it's FDA cleared, think about your budget and the severity of your hair loss. If you're just starting to see some thinning flows, a handheld comb might be enough, but for more widespread loss, you might want to consider a cap or helmet. And of course, double check that the wavelength range falls between 630 and 850 nanometers.
Right, the magic number for stimulating those hair follicles. So you pick your device, you take it home. What's the actual treatment process like?
It's actually pretty straightforward and, most importantly, painless. Most of these devices are designed for home use, so you can just pop it on while you're reading a book or watching TV.
That sounds way more appealing than some of those messy topical treatments or the more invasive procedures I've heard about.
Exactly. And as we mentioned earlier, a typical session is only about 10 to 20 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week.
Okay, that's manageable. But the big question, how long before you actually start seeing results?
Well, the article really emphasizes that patience is key here. Hair growth is a gradual process. It usually takes around 3 to 6 months of consistent use to see noticeable improvement.
So no overnight miracles. But that's actually reassuring in a way, right? It means it's working with your body's natural processes rather than just forcing something to happen.
Exactly. It's a long-term solution for healthier hair growth.
Now let's be real. These red light therapy devices can be a bit of an investment. Is it really worth the cost?
It's a valid question. It comes down to weighing the costs and benefits. Compared to ongoing treatments like medications or even hair transplants, red light therapy can actually be more cost-effective in the long run, especially if you're looking for something that's going to last. And many devices come with warranties and can last for years if you take care of them.
So it's an upfront cost, but potentially less expensive over time than other options. All right, I'm sold on the science. I'm understanding the practicalities. But I'm curious about real people. Are there any stories out there of individuals who've had success with red light therapy?
Absolutely. There are tons of online forums and review sites where people share their experiences. Of course, everyone's different, but many people report seeing positive results, increased hair density, less shedding, even new hair growth in areas where they had thinning.
Okay, that's encouraging to hear. It's one thing to read about studies, but it's another to hear from real people who've seen it work for them.
Exactly. And remember, we're just scratching the surface here. There's a wealth of information online and from healthcare professionals who specialize in hair loss. If you're seriously considering red light therapy, do your research, consult with a professional, and figure out what's right for you.
Solid advice. Now let's flip the script a bit. We've talked about the positives, but what about the downsides? Are there any risks or drawbacks we should be aware of?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, red light therapy is generally considered very safe and non-invasive. The most common side effect people experience is a mild warmth on the scalp during treatment, and that's harmless.
So nothing too scary. But are there any precautions people should take?
Yes, a couple of things. With laser devices, it's crucial to avoid direct eye contact with the light. Always wear the protective eyewear that comes with the device. And it's important to manage expectations. Red light therapy isn't a miracle cure for all types of hair loss. It's most effective for androgenetic alopecia, the pattern baldness we talked about. So if your hair follicles are completely gone, it's not going to magically bring them back.
Right, it's not going to regrow hair where there's nothing left to regrow.
Exactly. And results can vary from person to person. Some people might see results sooner than others.
Okay, so patience is definitely a virtue here. But for many people, it seems like the potential benefits outweigh the risks. So we've covered a lot of ground, from the science behind red light therapy to how to choose the right device. Now, I'm wondering what's on the horizon. Are there any exciting new developments or advancements in this field?
That's a great question. The field of red light therapy is constantly evolving, and researchers are always looking for ways to improve its effectiveness and accessibility.
Okay, spill the tea. What are they working on?
One area that's really exciting is the development of personalized red light therapy treatments.
Personalized. How does that work?
Scientists are exploring ways to tailor the wavelength, frequency, and duration of the treatment based on an individual's specific hair loss type and even their genetic profile.
Wow, that's taking personalized medicine to a whole new level. So it's not just one size fits all. They're really trying to fine-tune it for each person.
Exactly. It's about maximizing results and minimizing any potential side effects.
That's incredible. What else is in the pipeline?
Another cool area of innovation is the development of wearable red light therapy devices.
Wait, okay, a stylish headband that's secretly promoting hair growth. Sign me up.
Something like that. Think flexible LED panels that can be integrated into hats, headbands, even clothing.
So you could be getting your red light therapy on the go without anyone even knowing. That's amazing.
Exactly. The future of red light therapy is looking bright, both literally and figuratively.
I love that. It's so exciting to see how technology is being used to address something as common as hair loss.
And as research continues, we can expect even more groundbreaking discoveries and innovative solutions.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. I feel like I've learned so much about red light therapy and hair health in general.
It's been a pleasure sharing this journey with you.
And I hope our listeners are feeling empowered to take control of their hair loss journey.
Remember, knowledge is power, and there are so many resources available to support you.
And don't forget to check out Dan Blackburn's work at redlighttherapy.rehab for even more in-depth information. He's a true pioneer in the field of red light therapy.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, we're just about ready to wrap up this deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's one more crucial aspect we need to address, and that's the importance of a holistic approach to hair health. We'll discuss that in part 3 of this episode.
Welcome back. So before we went to, what was it, a break, we were talking about the importance of a holistic approach to hair health. I have a feeling this is where things like diet and stress management come in, right?
Absolutely. Red light therapy can be a game changer, but it works best as part of a bigger picture.
Makes sense. It's like anything else in health, right? You
Yeah.
can't just rely on one thing.
Exactly. First and foremost, make sure you're eating a balanced diet that's rich in
Yeah.
nutrients that are essential for hair growth.
So we're talking leafy greens, biotin-rich foods, plenty of protein, all that good stuff.
You got it. And don't underestimate the impact of stress. Oh, I know that all too well. Stress can definitely wreak havoc on your body, and hair loss is no exception.
It's true. Stress management is crucial. Things like yoga meditation, even just spending time in nature can make a big difference.
And of course, a good hair care routine is essential.
Absolutely. Gentle cleansing, regular conditioning, avoiding harsh chemicals. All of these things can contribute to a healthier scalp and stronger hair.
It's all about creating that optimal environment for those hair follicles to thrive.
Exactly. And remember, hair loss can be a complex issue. There can be various underlying causes.
So it's always a good idea to consult with a healthcare professional, right?
Absolutely. They can help you identify any underlying medical conditions or nutritional deficiencies that might be contributing to your hair loss.
And they can also guide you on the most effective treatments, whether it's red light therapy medications or a combination of approaches. This has been an incredible deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much about red light therapy and hair health in general.
It's been my pleasure.
And I hope our listeners are feeling empowered to take control of their hair loss journey.
Remember, knowledge is power, and there are so many resources available to help you along the way.
And of course, we have to give a shout out to Dan Blackburn and his article over at redlighttherapy.rehab. His work was really the catalyst for this whole discussion.
He's doing some great work in the field of red light therapy.
All right, folks, that's a wrap on our red light therapy deep dive. We hope you found it informative and hopefully even a little bit inspiring. Until next time.